Alrighty, well, a very, very happy Thursday, and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. Today is February 26th of 2026. How everyone doing? I'm doing well. Got a chance to watch some baseball yesterday. Reds beat up on those White Sox, so we'll talk about that here in our program today. Also, get a chance to talk about other things that's going on around me with sports. Elimination Chamber coming up here on this Saturday. Also, the Bearcats had their home opener, so we got plenty to talk about here on a fine Thursday. Want to open up today's segment by making a small little announcement about our show tomorrow. As you know, that I'm part of the uh, grassroots production that'll be going on this weekend at the Archville Theater in Cincinnati, Ohio. I invite you guys to come out and enjoy this theater production, and say hi to me. We'll be out there. It's one of two weekends that we are excited to be putting on this performance at the end of the month of February for Black History Month. But we're wanting to things always change. And so I guess the announcement comes that tomorrow morning I will be moving up our show just for this Friday from noon to 10 a.m. It'll be 10 to 11. I'm going to get in here, get the show done, get you guys ready for the weekend, give you my predictions on Elimination Chamber, and get out. I'm going to head out to the theater just a little bit early. There's a couple things we kind of have to touch base with and wrap up and fine tune before tomorrow night's performance. So that's what the goal is. So if you guys are available to join me a little bit earlier in the morning, 10 o'clock will be our live stream from 10 to 11. You can watch us on our YouTube channel or you can watch us on our Facebook page. As far as the audio, it will get posted tomorrow. I'm certain of that. Whether it gets posted, more than likely it's going to get posted in the afternoon. So I'll be headed out to the theater for a couple hours, finish up on some things that they have going on, and then I'll be headed back here, upload the episodes, do what I need to do before I take off for the performance on Friday night. So mark your calendars tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Let's get you guys ready for the weekend. All right, I want to kick off with a story that has broke news waves here in Cincinnati over the last 24 hours, and this is regarding to our former quarterback Brendan Sorsby, whose Cincinnati Bearcats athletic program is suing for the $1 million buyout after his transfer to Texas Tech earlier this year. University of Cincinnati is suing former quarterback Brendan Sorsby for breach of contract and seeking $1 million buyout after his transfer to Texas Tech this offseason. According to court documents obtained by the Athletic, Cincinnati claims that Sorsby broke his revenue sharing agreement with the school and owes the university money under the conditions of the deal. Per the Athletic, the lawsuit claims that Sorsby signed a 18th-month, two-season agreement with the Cincinnati Bearcats that ran through December 15th, 2026, with a $1 million buyout due within 30 days if Sorsby transferred to another university before completion of the agreement's full term. Sorsby signed with Texas Tech in January on one of the college's football's most lucrative portal deals, reportedly worth more than $4 million, ranked as the fifth star transferred and the number 2 overall player in the portal by 24/7 Sports. Sorsby threw for 2,800 yards and 27 touchdowns and 7 scores on the ground in 2025, his second season as a starter for the Bearcats, coming off his first college football playoff appearance In program history, after winning the Big 12, Texas Tech made Sorsby a priority in the transfer market following the exit of Beren Morton. Texas Tech celebrates the signing of Sorsby with advertisements posted in New York City. So basically, and you could check out this column by Brad Crawford on CBSSports.com. There's an article on this on everywhere you turn, and you could just type in Cincinnati Bearcats football, or even just type in Brandon Sorsby. So basically, Brandon transferred from Bearcats football to Texas Tech. Not a big deal. But under his agreement, which according to The Athletic, he was under a 2-year contract agreement with the Bearcats. He would owe $1 million for breaking the contract, and they have yet to receive the payment, which would have been should have been paid by February 15th, if I'm not mistaken. And now Cincinnati Bearcats are being forced to sue him for breaching the contract. Now, and I'm sure Bearcats don't want to be in this position. I mean, the last thing you want to do, it's not like Brandon Sorsby did anything dramatic. He just simply didn't pay out the agreement that was due to the contract. And this is reflectively, this is all new. I say to college sports, especially in the football program, with these NIL deals becoming more popular, and college players are now being open to transfer from school to school to school whenever they please. I wouldn't be surprised that we see a little bit more of this happen in the next several years. I mean, for one, if you're a player and, you're forced to start with one of these lower graded colleges, but you have the opportunity to, you rise to the occasion and be noticed by a Georgia or an Alabama or an LSU, a program that is better and is willing to offer you a little bit more to play for their school. One, why wouldn't you take it? I'm sure Texas Techs have more eyes on them at the professional level than the Cincinnati Bearcats. I think it's just plain and simple. But at the same time, for Sorsby, a contract's a contract. And, a team is not going to want to sign up for a player just to play one and done unless they're coming in, obviously, on their senior year. And I was very disappointed when I saw the news that Brandon Sorsby didn't play in the Liberty Bowl. I'm like, I understand that you're gonna be hitting the transfer portal and you're gonna be playing for another team, but this is where, for me, at the college level, if you're playing for a team, you begin the season with that team, or at any point you sign with the team, you should be obligated and committed to playing all the way through the course of the season, even if it's for the college football championships, or if it's a simple bowl game. I didn't like the idea that Brandon Sorsby took himself out of the bowl game for the transfer portal, and then the Bearcats got humiliated, and it was like, where did we honestly deserve to be in this game? I understand the weather conditions weren't all that great, but I tuned into the Liberty Bowl. I think it's a big deal to support the Bearcats, and that's what we got. I was very shameful that we were representing at the Liberty Bowl, knowing that our players were taken out of the game, or we're hitting the transfer portals and opted out to play. So I really do feel like things need to be fine-tuned. I feel like, college it used to be you go into a program, you play for 4 or 5 years, whatever the, limit is, and then you get your education and then play for a pro team if you make the draft. And we're seeing a huge shift, and this is one of them. Players at this younger age are gonna get these NIL deals that they really don't know what they're signing up for other than seeing the dollar figure amount, and it doesn't look too complicated. This deal, according to the Brad Crawford, looked very simple. We signed you for 2 years. You have the option to hit the portal, but if another team picks you up, you owe us $1 million or the difference of whatever that contract holds, which is $1 million. Doesn't seem that much. I mean, Texas Tech is paying him $4 million. So maybe this is a simple mistake. And like I said, I don't think the program realistically wants to hound down on Sorsby, but they gotta hold themselves entitled to what they're also owed. They're paying him money to play for 2 years, and it kind of now it's for a loss. So, I thought this was an interesting segment. We don't really do a whole lot of college football conversations, and so when it dealt with Cincinnati, I felt like it needed to have this front and center moment on our show to at least briefly talk about it. Now, I hope that this gets resolved very quickly. Like I said, I don't see much into it other than, you see a college team suing a personal player for breaching a contract. It's a simple at fault, and it should be recognized nice and simple, nice and easy. But I guess we'll see over time, right? I don't know if Brandon Sorsby could decline it, and if there's a case for him to win an option of, "Alright, well, I don't feel like I should pay this," and if he would win. But if I'm a player now, and I'm going into Texas Tech, and I know I have a buyout deal that I'm gonna have to pay. The first and foremost, I would say, Texas Tech, you need to pay out the buyout, okay? I don't care whatever that's worth. Before we even talk numbers, you need to agree to whatever that buyout is, you need to pay for it. That's what I believe. It would be a smart strategy thing. I don't know what you guys think. Cincinnati sues Brandon Sorsby for his breach of contract in the amount of $1 million. How far will that go? Alrighty, we'll take a look at our MLB The Show franchise mode as we take you through spring training playing as the Cincinnati Reds. We are headed into a Thursday afternoon action. Before we get into that, we'll briefly summarize the Cincinnati Reds yesterday. Now, we're talking about our franchise mode available on the TNC Sports Talk, where we follow the Cincinnati Reds. In a similar dynamic, we're playing currently the 2025 spring training schedule, according to MLB The Show 25. When the 26 video game comes out in the middle of March, we will transition into the 26 regular season. We've added some additional players, kept it more or less the same. Try to keep up with all the trades and the news and stuff that's going around Major League Baseball with the video game in the meantime. But the Cincinnati Reds took on the Los Angeles Angels in our franchise mode series. They were at Laughing Mountain Park, which is the AAA affiliated stadium for the Los Angeles Angels, according to the video game. And the Angels pulled away with the victory, 6-3, the final score. And we had Nick Lodolo out there. We had Miguel Andujar, who I know is on the Padres. That gets fixed a little later on, but they ended up losing to the Angels. And Brandon Williamson gets the loss on his record. He pitched 2 innings, gave up 2 hits, 2 runs, and 4 strikeouts. Kirby Yates picked up the save as he pitched 1 inning, gave up 2 hits, and that was it. Bryce Torridosio, Christian Moore, and Yoan Moncada all hit home runs in yesterday's ball game. Today, the Cincinnati Reds will be back at their AAA affiliate home stadium, which is Green Valley Stadium, as they host the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Arizona Diamondbacks are 3-2, while the Cincinnati Reds are 3-1 on the schedule. We would have Corbin Burns on the mound for the Diamondbacks, right-handed pitcher, going up against Andrew Abbott, making a spring spring training debut. Looking at the lineup for the Reds for this game, batting leadoff, playing shortstop is Ellie De La Cruz. Christian Encarnacion will be batting second at third base. Right field is Will Benson. The designated hitter batting cleanup is Eugenio Suarez. Miguel Andujar batting fifth, playing in left field. Sal Stewart batting sixth at first base. Center field is JJ Bleday. He'll be batting seventh, batting eighth. Behind the plate, calling balls and strikes. Well, not calling balls and strikes, catching for Andrew Abbott is Jose Trevino, and batting ninth, the second baseman Luis Rengifo. That game starts at 3:05 and is available for you to check out on our TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. If you like what you guys are seeing on our YouTube channel, we will kindly like to ask you to like, share, and subscribe for more information. And also, anything supports, you can subscribe to our Patreon where we will recognize you on our show on a daily basis. Appreciate your support to help make this show, this podcast, as vibrant as often. So we don't ask for you to support us and financially, but if that does come away, we will deeply appreciate it. And we just know that it goes back to making this show run on a daily basis for you. Coming up this weekend, we have more baseball action. Coming up tomorrow, we'll get you a recap of what's going on around MLB The Show 25. As I have mentioned before, it's been a pretty busy week already. A lot of time out at the Archville Theater in Cincinnati, Ohio, getting ready for Grassroots coming up, presented by Atlantis Studios this Friday, February 27th, going on through March 8th. Get your tickets today by visiting TicketTailor.com. Come out, see the wonderful actors and actresses perform, tell this elaborate story of what it was like back in the 1950s when a family moves into a neighborhood and the truth spills out that isn't always so black and white. Join the Gibsons as we present Grassroots, written and directed by Terry Chappell II, coming up this weekend through March 8th. Also, like to give out a shout out to Riverside, the proud streaming service platform for the TNC Sports Talk. Riverside FM helps our channel grow by providing us a platform where we can stream across multiple social media accounts at once. We are currently live streaming from our YouTube channel. Hello there. And also our Facebook page. How is it going? Well, you can check out everything that's going on through our social media accounts, but be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to Riverside, making it easier for you. It also makes it easier for me, allowing simple studio techniques to make this show a lot smoother and a lot easier. Sound great quality. Also features a behind the scenes editing tool that you can go back and edit, post, make short clips, and also publish audio portions of these of your podcast. And that way you could range all your publication needs through Riverside. They create short videos, short clips, and key statements and posts that you can use on your social media page. It's all directed through Riverside. If you're looking to create your own podcast, you're looking to start your own, whether it's a social media view or it's an audio view, check out Riverside FM. This is not an endorsement, but if Riverside would like to reach out to me and make a deal, let's have a conversation. All right, we are just days away from Elimination Chamber. Yesterday, we talked lengthy about Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee. We concluded that this is Becky Lynch's women's division, at least on Raw. We concluded that that Becky Lynch is the man, quote unquote, man to beat. in this storyline. And she's not going to let just someone who been out of ring action for the last 10 years, who stepped away. Reminds me a lot of the reasonings for similar reasons for Seth Rollins and CM Punk in their feud, but it makes logical sense. And we also concluded that AJ Lee is someone who wants to have another run, have another crack at it. And in order to be the best, she has to beat the best. So this Saturday, Becky Lynch will defend her Women's Intercontinental Championship against AJ Lee in singles competition in Chicago, Illinois. Well, coming up on Saturday as well, we will see. Let me just pull it up here. Where we see what I can find. We will see CM Punk defend his World Heavyweight Championship against Finn Balor in the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois, on the final road stop to WrestleMania 42. So let's talk about the match. How do you feel about CM Punk versus Finn Balor? I'll tell you this. I don't know if I'd ever be satisfied with CM Punk regaining the World Heavyweight Championship. I am still so embedded on what has taken place over the past 10 years. And there are a lot of people out there that has claimed that CM Punk has really contradicted himself and hypocritical for everything that he said in the years past. And there was a lot of true straight statements that he said. But so I'm not opposed to CM Punk necessarily being champion. And maybe that gives me a blur view at what the overall configuration of this storyline of the road to WrestleMania for Punk, where he faces Roman Reigns. But something just does not necessarily sit well with me as CM Punk as champion. I don't hate him. I don't dislike him. I think he's a good athlete. I think maybe he's a little bit past his prime, to be honest. But he has clawed his way. He has paid his due diligence in getting back into the championship main event saga. Finn Balor, on the other hand, who I feel has paid a lot more dues over the recent years, has gotten this spotlight, but I feel like it is an obstructed perspective because you instantly know who's walking away from this match at Elimination Chamber. It is hands down, unless something catastrophic happens, like CM Punk gets injured, that CM Punk will retain his World Heavyweight Championship because the advertisement is CM Punk Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And that's a big challenge to me. And I understand that we needed to announce a WrestleMania match to help engage in selling tickets to WrestleMania 42. But then why put CM Punk in this position where he has to defend his title, where you could already speculate who's going to win, and it becomes a little bit less pointless to what we see. The other thing is that CM Punk and Roman Reigns don't need 12 months to build this storyline. They just need to cut a promo once or twice over the next few weeks, which is great because you allow time for other stories to polish and malnourish and become something of its own. But now we just sit on it. And I just don't know. I argue with myself if the hype is still going to be around come April when we see this match. But we have to get through Elimination Chamber first. And I think that this is an obstructed point of concept for Finn Balor. It doesn't progress in any way, any shape, anyhow. I feel that Finn Balor is a main event person. I feel that Finn Balor, had his fair run with the Judgment Day. This is the time to get out, and I feel like maybe we are at the point where we will see Finn Balor break out of the Judgment Day, as we've seen this team kind of break off and within their own success. There was a prediction that came out here talking about the possibility of seeing Dominic Mysterio trying to help Finn Balor this Saturday, ultimately costing him the World Heavyweight Championship, which then leads into a WrestleMania match for the Intercontinental Championship, and then possibly the return of the Demon. Now, I know the Demon is a persona that we don't need to see all the time, but a lot of people, including myself, has been one eager to see the return of the Demon. And that's dated back to even when Finn Balor had the feud with Damian Priest. Now, I feel like that feud was a complete miss, in my opinion. And I feel like you have a perfect opportunity to write this story between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. Finn Balor deserves a championship run. Dominic Mysterio's at the end of his championship run, in my thoughts. And this could be a new look, as Finn Balor would end up breaking away from the Judgment Day, having his own little run, being at the top of the program again, at least a mid card, someone that's valued, something that's worth it, and it gives him purpose to be there on a night, week in and week out basis. And I feel like Finn Balor will be a really good intercontinental champion. What about you? I just feel like when you put Finn Balor into these situations where, just like Sami Zayn, they're just mediocre situations that doesn't really hold any water, that doesn't really give you any rhyme or reasons of why they're in there. Yeah, it sounds good, Sami Zayn never beat Drew McIntyre, and this is that great opportunity, and we could see history being made, and it's in Saudi Arabia, and I thought I was even buying into that, knowing in the back of my mind that they just put the title on Drew McIntyre. We're heading into WrestleMania, and what would be the point of putting that title on Drew, knowing that what's the point of putting the title on Sammy if he's not really necessarily involved into the current feud at the moment? Well, where does Finn Balor face in this? Could we see a Finn Balor and Roman Reigns? That wouldn't be a bad match. So yeah, if CM Punk does get hurt and he has to cost the title for that fact, we could see a title change. And I think that would probably be just as good as a Punk and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. But as long as Punk is healthy, as long as he has and executes what he needs to accomplish, I'm not really entertaining that we're gonna see anything else. So, heading into Elimination Chamber, why would I get thrilled about this match? Now, I'm thrilled because it's gonna be a good match. I'm eager to see it. It's 2 veterans, 2 future Hall of Famers that belong in this spotlight, and it's in Chicago. The fan favorites of CM Punk, but CM Punk, for me, is kind of the heel on this point. At least that's where I'm kind of bringing it in. I may be completely wrong in other people's eyes, but I don't care. I I feel like the WWE, it's a good match to fill in between now and WrestleMania, but I feel like it's pretty predictable, and I'm not interested. I'm not as invested. It's not as a huge match as it could have been if we didn't learn that Roman Reigns is challenging CM Punk. When Roman Reigns revealed his opponent the night after the Royal Rumble, the Monday Night Raw after the Royal Rumble, it wasn't it wasn't Roman Reigns selecting the World Heavyweight Championship. It was Roman Reigns selecting CM Punk with some unfinished business to resolve. It was very clear that Roman Reigns wanted CM Punk, and it just so happened that he had the World Heavyweight Championship. So, like I said, this is gonna be a good match. I feel it's pretty self-determined that you would have CM Punk win one way or not, one way or not. And I think that takes away from what a better match it could have been or it could be. Because the only way Punk is going to lose is if he gets substantial hurt throughout the match. So a lot of great potential. It's going to be on the back end that I'm interested in seeing to see how they utilize Finn Balor and if that storyline continues and if he has a place at the WrestleMania and how is that going to be viewed. That's where I sit at the back of it. But tomorrow we will preview the men's and women's Elimination Chamber matches, and we will give you our official predictions of Elimination Chamber this Saturday in Chicago. So back on Monday Night Raw earlier this week, Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar comes out to the ring as they are set to address the WWE. And Paul Heyman goes into this dispute that Brock Lesnar is at the other end of his career. He is at the career where he's already accomplished anything, and there's really nothing that he needs to do left. So why not give that opportunity for someone to make a name of themselves by stepping up and taking on Brock Lesnar at this year's WrestleMania in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the grandest stage of them all. That's some pretty big shoes to fill. I was thinking about this like the other day. Just the name Brock Lesnar is an advertisement to WrestleMania. Would you buy seats at WrestleMania knowing that Brock Lesnar is going to be there? I would, to be honest, right? And it's just, it happens to be in a conversation lingered towards, well, WrestleMania is not selling as many tickets as they hoped for. And so what do? You make this announcement. You announce that Brock Lesnar is going to be in ring action at WrestleMania. Now all we need to know is who his opponent's going to be. And start thinking about this, okay? Is there a bigger name that's not already being occupied at the moment in a storyline that is bigger than Brock Lesnar? The guy who beat John Cena last year and dominated John Cena throughout their careers. The guy who broke Triple H's elbow, right? The guy who ended The Undertaker's streak. My point is, Brock Lesnar and his resume is probably one, if not the most decorated wrestler in the WWE right now. He's the biggest name that he may not be the biggest marquee at the moment, but he's a really big name that when you say he's going to be somewhere and matter of fact, he's going to compete, it elevates. You could depend on it. When you go into a town and look at all the dates that WWE has promoted him going to be between now and WrestleMania. I think there's like 5 or 6 dates that he's supposed to be there. Boston, New York. What else? Gosh, I can't think off the top of my head. But Boston. But my point is that those cities are going to promote and advertise Brock Lesnar. And whether or not he has a match or not, people are going to buy tickets just to see Brock Lesnar. And so when you think about WrestleMania, I think this is a really good strategy point for the WWE to come out this past Monday and announce that Brock Lesnar will open a title match to anybody in the roster who's willing to step up, make a name for themselves. You may lose. As a matter of fact, Paul Heyman indicated that you are going to lose. You are going to lose through the hands of Brock Lesnar, but at least you get to try to make a name for yourself. But the options are endless. Now, it's going to be how we lead up to this, because I don't think you need to necessarily reveal an opponent, maybe even tease an opponent between now and then. But you could really push that time, because my point was trying to make a moment ago is that there's nobody bigger than Brock Lesnar. Therefore, you've already sold the match alone. Now you got to find out who's going to be the next, right? Like if this was a Trick Williams saying, I'm going to have an open challenge match at WrestleMania, well, it's like, all right, well, you need to bring someone that's pretty special, right? You need to bring someone that's worthy, that can really carry him. That it's like bringing back a Shawn Michaels. It's like bringing back an Undertaker. That knowing that person on the other end ends up making or breaking that feud, that ticket, and would determine if you sell tickets. You'd want to promote that as soon as possible. But this is a reverse psychology. You would sit on this, tease Raw. First of all, you're getting people to sell tickets to go to your Raw each and every Monday, knowing that Brock Lesnar is going to be there, and knowing that that week could be someone who is revealed as his opponent. But otherwise, you are advertising that Brock Lesnar will have a match at WrestleMania. Now the question is who? There's been linger conversations that Gunther is looking to end Brock Lesnar's career. That could be a possible storyline, but that was tied along more so SummerSlam was happening in Brock Lesnar's more common territory. I really am leaning towards Obafemi, and I think a lot of people I've asked on social media is also leading towards Obafemi. And I feel like that would be a great milestone for a guy like Oba to step up, make a name for himself. It's kind of, for me, like a passing the torch, if you would say. And it also, and so, I mean, that's where I feel. There's really no one else right now on that roster that is convincing me enough to say, let's go ahead and go with them on this. So, I'm going to ask this again, and you may get tired of me asking this. Who is Brock Lesnar's WrestleMania opponent? I do want to ask, was the strategy of announcing Brock Lesnar's WrestleMania match as an open challenge, does that do enough it's not going to sell 20,000 seats, I don't think. But does that maybe intrigue people to buying WrestleMania tickets? You have, unfortunately, or you got tax returns coming on, people collecting money that's coming in. You have all this and that's working on, and I would claim that this would be a good for business idea. So hopefully I think the payoff is already there. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. I want to, before we get into our next segment, want to just share with you, we talked at the beginning of the production. We are going to have our show at 10 a.m. tomorrow, moving it up. From 10 to 11, we're going to have our Friday episode of the TNC Sports Talk. That is because Grassroots begins tomorrow, 7 p.m. at the Archville Theater in Cincinnati, Ohio. We encourage you to come out, join the team, check out this incredible team of performers, and check out the story of Grassroots, written and directed by Terry Chappell II, presented by Enlighten Studios. I am going to get out there early. Got some final things to set up and to do and equipment to test to make sure the weekend runs smoothly. So that's what um, that's what we are going to do, and that's why the decision has been made to move this show up until 10 o'clock. This is, as right now, why I did try and ask if I could do a live stream from the location, but that unfortunately it doesn't look possible that that's going to happen. So I'm going to do a live stream from here. Just move up the time so I have time to get out there, help out, do what I need to do so that we can have a good performance. But if you guys haven't gotten your tickets yet, we got 2 weekends going on, four shows each weekend beginning Fridays. Fridays are at 7 p.m. The doors open up an hour before. You can get your tickets by visiting tickettailor.com, or you get them at the door. Get your tickets today, though. But then we have 2 shows on Saturday, one at 2 p.m., one at 7, and then we have a show on Sunday at 2 p.m. So we encourage you to come out, check out the product, and let's have ourselves a good time. Grassroots, presented by Enlightenment Studios. Alrighty. I love just breaking down Cincinnati articles. Spring training is wide here. They picked up another victory. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But before we get into our Reds baseball conversation, the Cincinnati Bearcats had a really good win yesterday, home opener at the UC Baseball Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. The Cincinnati Bearcats beat the Bowling Green Falcons 11-1 in 7 innings. It was a really good game. Checked out a little bit of it, and it's great motivation. The Bearcats move out to a 6-3 record on the year. The next game comes up here on Friday, tomorrow at 3 p.m. They'll be home at the UC Baseball Stadium as they take on the Austin, PA. First pitch, 3 p.m. They say they begin a 3-game series as they will have a Saturday game also at 3 p.m. and they'll wrap up the 3-game series on Sunday at 1 p.m. You can check out all those games on ESPN Plus. For more information, check out gobearcats.com/sports/baseball/schedule. Next week, the Bearcats will be we remain at the home for another week of baseball as on Tuesday they will host the Western Kentucky. That game's at 4 p.m. on ESPN Plus, and then they begin a 4-game series against UC San Diego at the UC Baseball Stadium. You will get you more information coming up next week. Alrighty. Well, some interesting stories coming around Cincinnati baseball, match, or just about Major League Baseball overall as we continue um, with spring training. It looks like Max Scherzer has reached an agreement deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. Thought this one was a pretty interesting. It was almost no doubter that we would see Max Scherzer back with the Blue Jays. He came so close of winning the World Series with the team. I'm sure he wants to re-sign, but the strategy of using him, he doesn't need to be used on a daily basis. He just kind of needs to be used in when they really need him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays out. He doesn't need a full season. But then Giancarlo Stanton is determined to play through his pain, even though he can't even open a bottle. Man, some already issues going on with the New York Yankees. But, the Cincinnati Reds have an option this year, just like a lot of other teams, so to speak. And it's going to be interesting to see if they even take interest into this idea. This was an article written on the yardbarker.com by Rick Logan a couple days ago, talking about the Cincinnati Reds and the possibility of utilizing a 6-man rotation. I mean, it's not necessarily ideal, but it could probably work. And here's the reasons why. The Reds currently have 3 pitchers fighting for the final spot, as Brandon Williamson, Rhett Lauder, and Chase Burns kind of locking in their spring training status here this year to get the final spot of the rotation. While they all pitched in the first spring training game last Saturday. Burns threw 2 scoreless innings with 3 walks and 2 strikeouts, did not allow a hit. Louder threw three. Louder threw 2 innings with 2 hits, earned run, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. Derek Johnson has said this that about the rotation is that he's kicked the tires on a six-man rotation. Tito and I have talked about it just briefly. If there's a six-man rotation in the future, it gives Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo an extra day of rest in between starts. Yes, you're taking starts away from them, but long term may benefit the team if they can stay healthy during the season. Hunter Green has yet to reach the 30 start mark in his career, and Nick Lodolo had his career high of 28 last season, taking away starts while giving Burns and Louder critical time in the development can be a huge for stamina and the rotation, but it will certainly give more of work to the bullpen. That is true. Francona said the problem with that is one hiccup. You're making roster moves because your bullpen can't handle it. While there are some pros to making a viable option, the reality of it is the most likely outcome will be traditional five-man rotation with two of the three players being optioned down to AAA. Lauder just made 5 starts in 2025 after rehabbing multiple throwing arm injuries. Brendan Williamson is fresh off of recovering from Tommy John surgery back in 2024. They should get time to prepare in Louisville and be the next man up. Should something happen to anyone else in the rotation, we'll see what the move. We'll see as we move through camp where it sits. Derek Johnson says, and if it makes sense, you'll when you start getting into those longer stretches of the season, maybe it does. You can read Whitmire's full article on this website, and a link will be attached to that. But, I don't want to completely can the idea of bringing in a six-man rotation. I don't think that right now would be beginning of the season would be an idea. I feel like, you are taking away from the bullpen. That's one less guy from the bullpen, and that's also a little bit more that you're expecting out of your starters. You're telling me that now these starters need to go at least minimum of 6 innings, if not 7, and I feel like we're just way beyond that day. So, yeah. Oh, I think we're gonna can the idea right now. We worked so hard to build that bullpen, to get our starters a solid 5, 6 innings, and then to take the workload off the bullpen. I don't know how many years in recent years we've seen our bullpen get work like no other, and that's kinda cost us a lot of games, in my opinion. So, to see a six-man rotation to start the season off, I don't think so. Plus, you throw out the idea that, look, you know, these you throw out the idea that maybe talk about Brandon Williamson coming back from Tommy John surgery, Rhett Lauder's dealing with a little bit of injuries from last year. Yeah, it'll be great to start off the season down in AAA, let them just ease their way in. But you're also looking, hey, are they going to be eating innings? Are they going to be on limitations for innings or pitches thrown throughout the course of the year? And how quickly do you want to expose that? A possibility when we get down to the grunt days, the middle of summer, maybe a few times, maybe heading into breaks or whatnot, that would be a possibility. Another possibility is to utilize that last bench bullpen spot and use it as a longevity guy. So if you have to throw a bullpen day, I think Graham Ashcraft to me is kind of beyond that point of yeah, hey, it's a bullpen day. No, when I think of a bullpen day, yeah, a pitcher's gonna be coming out of the bullpen most majority of the time, but you could plan it up where if you need to give him a 6 day because you have a day coming off, you need to give Green an extra day of rest or whatever the case may be, you can stretch out a guy who could give you at least 3 solid innings coming out of the bullpen, and maybe that's not Rhett Lauder, maybe that's not Brandon Williamson. Is that a Chase Petty or Connor Phillips or, one of those other key marquee names? I'm asking for 3 innings and having that option at least available 1 or 2 times a year, or, maybe a handful of times a year. I don't wanna see a whole lot of bullpen days to be honest, but if it's a getaway day, throughout the week, if it's, "Alright, I'm gonna throw this bullpen in," and then hopefully for the back end of the rotation can get a couple extra days off, especially on those long enduring stretches that we have, it wouldn't be unethical to see it happen, but, you know, um yeah, I really just I think let's just stick to that five-man rotation. Injuries do prevail. I don't wanna overwork these guys, and it also gives us, options for our future. But should the Reds consider a six-man rotation coming into this season? Let me know down in the comments. The Reds picked up their second win on spring training yesterday as they beat the Chicago White Sox 3-2. They moved to a 2-2 record, pushing the White Sox back to a 4-2 record. They scored in the second and third inning. That was enough as they almost gave up the lead in the ninth inning, but was able to close out the game. We had Nick Lodolo picking up the victory as he started yesterday's game, pitched 2 innings, gave up 2 hits with 4 strikeouts. Brock Burke we saw, Ryan Richardson. It was a very cleaner game, to be honest. Garcia had the save as allowed 2 hits, 1 run, and he struck out 3 batters. Overall, they picked up the game. A final score time of 2 hours and 22 minutes in front of 2,400 fans at Camelback Ranch. ABS challenges to Jose Trevino had 2 of them. It was a ball overturned to a strike and a ball confirmed. And then we had Hampson, who challenged a strike call overturned to a ball. That was pretty much it. Offensively, let's see what the offensive powers bring to you. On the scoring drives, in the second inning, South Story hits a solo home run out to center field, put the Reds on the board. In the top of the third inning, J.J. Bleday hit a home run out to, or hit a home run out to right field, scoring in Hector Rodriguez to extend their lead to 3-0. The Reds gave up a home run to Colson Montgomery in the bottom of the fourth inning out to right field to drag it down to 3-1. Dustin Harris hit a double on a line drive to center field and to score in Sam Antonassi to give the White Sox trailing by 1, but they ultimately picked up the victory and improved their records. Another good win. Sometimes it's not going to always look pretty, right? But we were able to get out to that early lead, and that bullpen looked pretty solid for the majority of the part. Today, the Reds are back at Goodyear Ballpark in Goodyear, Arizona for a 3:05 game against the San Diego Padres. The Padres are 3-3. They will be sending out right-handed pitcher Nick Pivetta to the mound, first time during the spring this year. Is it the first time during spring this year? Let's see. Nick Pivetta. I don't think I have any stats for 2026 yet. Let me see. Nope, I don't see anything. So, um, anyways, Chase Burns will get the nod for the Reds again, right-handed pitcher on the mound. He had 2 strikeouts according to his resume. We have the Reds lineup available here, giving you thanks to MLB.com/gameday. Leading things off, batting first in left field is TJ Friedel. Batting second at second base is Matt McLean. Batting third at shortstop is Ellie De La Cruz. Batting third at cleanup is Eugenio Suarez. Batting fifth at first base is Spencer Steer. Batting sixth, Will Benson as the designated hitter. In right field, batting seventh is Noel V. Marte. Dane Myers will play center field, batting eighth, and batting ninth, the catcher is Will Benfield. So, another ideal lineup for these Reds. Still liking the idea that De La Cruz and Suarez is batting that 3-4 spot. I really like them there. I feel like you have options coming up who's going to bat number fifth. And I feel like the fifth batter in that lineup is going to be another power hitting guy, but it's meant to be changed. Right, where if is there a slump going on? Can we move you? The only time I think that if Suarez is in that lineup, he's batting either fourth, third, I would say fifth, but I really don't think you're going to move him around from fourth or third. I think you're going to try to keep the back-to-back Cruz and Suarez the same as much as possible. If Matt McLean's not in there, you're probably putting Cruz up at the second spot, to be honest. And then if it's a righty-lefty situation, you probably if Benson's on there, you probably throw him out there on the field. So, um, those are our options, and I think that's another great, attribute for the Cincinnati Reds, is that Terry Francona has these options that he can use and he can utilize this season. So I'm expecting that to be done, and I'm seeing it quite frankly here. So, like in the bottom half, you're getting Dane Myers some chance out there in center field. There will be Marte's another outfield guy right there. Spencer Steele back at first. I'm actually surprised to see how much playing time Steer is playing at first early on this spring. I thought picking up Nathaniel Lowe with the guy like Sal Stewart, I really envisioned that this would have been putting Steer out there in left field, and so that would eat up an option, and of course, that's an option, but then I really want to determine who's gonna be your first base, and I don't know if you're not seeing Nathaniel Lowe right now, is that just because he's easing into it, or are we seeing Steer? Because right now, it also looks to me like Sal Stewart is more so proning off the bench at the first base or second base position. If that's the case, you got to figure out who's your first base. I don't think you need Steer and Nathaniel Lowe coming off the bench. One of them has to be your starter, in my opinion. Unless you have Steer, unless you have Steer at first base and you keep the outfield with Benson, unless you plan to start Benson in left, and then you start either Marte, and probably Marte in right, and then Friedel in center, you have JJ Bleday and Dane Myers coming off the bench. Then you would have either Sal Stewart, which I'm posing to, or Nathaniel Lowe, and the other one's going to go down to AAA. That is an option. So, a little interesting to see how Terry Francona is analyzing all this and putting this together. I know we're only not even a week into it, but, spring training is going to wrap up very quickly. So, that is all the time I have for you guys today. We will be back tomorrow. We will get you guys ready for baseball over the weekend. Bearcats baseball, Bearcats basketball as they take on Oklahoma on Saturday, and then the Cincinnati Reds, what's going on with them all week long. We will give you our predictions of Elimination Chamber coming up this Saturday on ESPN and any other stories that kind of bring to the forefront of the table. So, that is all the time. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Please do me a favor. If you're on our YouTube page, hit our like, hit our share, hit our follow button, okay, subscribe button. Have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode, whether it's a MLB The Show franchise mode, or whether it's one of our podcasts, or it's a short, or it's a short video, whatever the case may be, don't miss what's coming out of our YouTube channel. If you are on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, thank you so much for following us. If you haven't done so yet, please follow us, support us, get engaged with our conversations, and I want to hear from you because your feedback means the most to me. If you guys are listening to us on our audio platforms, we are on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. If we're not, let us know, we'll get on there, and that way you don't miss a single episode. You can carry us with you at work, in the car, at the gym, at home doing the dishes. Wherever you get your podcasting needs, be sure to tune in to every episode of the TNC Sports Talk. Well, until tomorrow, I want to wish you guys a very happy Thursday and enjoy the rest of your day. That snow came in very quickly and it's already out. A lot of it's already melted, so hopefully that didn't impact any of your driving. But we'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.